I am who I am. I don't have to look like everybody. I don't have to do the same as what everybody else does. And that's almost what was implanted in us as littlies. You had to be brave. You had to be kind. You had to be strong. Those were like basic things that we were taught. And it feels to me like kids are not being taught that anymore. And that is why we actually developed High Five.
How something so personal and foundation shaking in your world can now be turned around to create something that other children can benefit from.
We get brands to go, you know what, I see that. I see them. I want to be part of that success story.
Before we start this podcast, will you please like, follow, and subscribe to the Right Place podcast right here on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. Rudolph and I would also love to connect with you on LinkedIn, so look us up there too. Thank you. Cheers. Welcome to the Right Place. This is Cheytanov. She's the powerhouse behind 3RC. That's the company using edutainment, tech, and a big heart to help kids dream bigger, choose better, and thrive in an ever-complicated world. In this episode, we're going to dive into her story from singing on stage to building a nationwide platform for youth empowerment. And this includes Rocking Future, High Five, Swivel.com, and Success Starters. If you care about the next generation and you're a business owner who wants more brand exposure, or you're a parent wondering, will my child ever find their right place, then this is the episode for you. Kay, welcome to the Right Place. It's great to chat to you today.
Hey, John. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Kay, in 2025, we live in a very complicated space. Now, you interact with a lot of children, be it high schoolers or tertiary education children. What is important to children in 2025?
Connection. I think that's what everybody forgets. Because they are always connected doesn't mean that they have the connection that they need. And we see that over and over again in all of the shows that we do, whether it's the littlies that we see with High Five or the matrics that we see with Rocking Future. These kids are desperate to connect with people. They are desperate to be heard. I think we have gotten to a place and space within, I guess this is all over, where kids just don't feel like people listen to them. They, more than ever, they should be seen and not heard. And although they make themselves heard on social media and although they make themselves heard at school with their friends, I don't think that happens at home anymore. And if it happens at your house, well done. You are raising a champ. But if you're not spending that at least half an hour a day to find out what's going on in that little head, I think you might be living past your child.
And Kay, do you think that is a generational thing, that the parents didn't grow up in the age of social media, and social media is very new to them? They might be on Facebook or Instagram, but they're not like completely plugged in. The children seem to live on their phones. It's a good and a bad thing. And so there's this disconnect. They communicate in everything with the children around them. But the adults, there's just like this void, this nothingness sometimes.
John, I think there's generational harm from generation to generation. I mean, if we think about our parents, right? We were the generation of to be seen and not heard in a big way. If people came and visited, you were like asked to make tea, and then you would bring the tea, and then you would be excused from the conversation. Where our kids are raised differently, so they might be around us, but they're not part of us. They are busy on their own thing. And I don't know whether you've seen it. I've seen it in every restaurant that I go to. We call them the iPad kids. And mom and dad is each sitting on a phone. The kid is holding onto their iPad, either playing a game or scrolling through social media, depending on the age. And it's like there's a disconnect in the family itself. And I understand that. You and I both, we are well versed in social media. So that is where we go to have that 15 seconds or 15 minutes of a break or a dopamine shot, or that's where we go. I don't want to do anything right now, so I'm going to quickly do this. And we, by means of showing our kids that, we are teaching them that. Do we still have conversations around the dinner table? Do we still have dinner table? With one of our shows, High Five, last year we did the pilot, and some of the scariest stats that I got from teachers is that these kids, and we're not talking about lower income schools, we're talking about X Model C private schools. These kids don't see their parents. They get up in the morning, parent has already left. They find their way to school, whether it's a bus or somebody picks them up or whatever it is. This afternoon, they come back home. They feed themselves nuggets and chips, and parents come home after they've already gone to bed. That, unfortunately, is what we are living in. If you are a rich parent, then hey, you've got the au pair doing that for you. It's not going to replace you. And unfortunately, we are seeing more and more. It's disturbing.
It is quite disturbing. We just returned from holiday, and we were at a resort, and it was funny to see parents having fun with their kids next to the side of the pool on the beach, and there were no phones in sight. And then you come to the dinner table, and mom and dad are sitting on their phone, and the kids have an iPad while they're shoveling spaghetti bolognese into their face. And I just told my wife, like, this is just so bizarre. My kids have devices, but like we've put in some boundaries that we don't do dinner with phones. You don't need a phone. You don't need to watch a video. You don't need to show us anything or anything like that. Put it away. But even like the sacred space of the dinner table has been compromised by social media. And I was thinking now, when you started Rocking Future 25 years ago, that was way before social media even existed. So you were addressing a need then, and you've kind of had to almost pivot to address almost new needs in 2025. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Sure. If I just think back on the kids that I sang to then, the kind of matrics that I had in front of me, and I don't want to make a big deal of it, but they were disciplined. They would listen when you speak to them. There would be a sense of respect. Although I was only a few years older than them, you standing on stage, so we have to listen to what you say. Now, granted, that's 25 years ago. That is a non-negotiable at the moment. It's like, just because you are older or standing on a stage does not give you any right to tell me what to do. And we're seeing that with the teachers. Our teachers are in despair. Our teachers are in trouble. They are burnt out. They are underpaid. I mean, I'm just so happy that I don't have to be one. And I see the change that has happened. Some of it good. Yes, I'm not going to deny that. There are experiences and opportunities available to the kids now that we didn't even contemplate growing up, which is fantastic. The world moves very fast. But there's a core that I've slowly seen disappearing. A core of kindness, a core of, personal bravery. Like, I can do this. The core of, I am who I am. I don't have to look like everybody. I don't have to do the same as what everybody else does. And that's almost what was implanted in us as littlies. You had to be brave. You had to be kind. You had to be strong. Those were like basic things that we were taught. And it feels to me like kids are not being taught that anymore. And that is why we actually developed High Five, because there's such a massive crisis with regards to anxiety and depression. And I'm part of this. I have kids right now, and I mean, High Five comes from a very personal story with my daughter. And I was so gobsmacked, thinking that I was doing the right thing because I wasn't raising her the way my mom raised me. I was like, well, I must be doing better. And meantime, I was missing the plot here. That very strong core that was instilled in me wasn't there anymore because the community has disappeared. I don't know. There's so many things around the subject that we can go on about for years. But yeah, our kids are in trouble. Our teachers are in trouble. And we need to start standing together as families, as communities, and start, putting ground rules down to say, this is how kids need to be raised. Everybody can't just be in it for themselves. It doesn't work.
And Kay, is that why 3RC exists? Is that why you have these different products, High Five, Rocking Future, Swivel.com? Tell me more about that vision and how the different products fit into that vision.
I think you mentioned it right in the beginning, John. My company is heart. It's always been that. It's who I am. I don't know any other way. And I was actually talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about selling. And I'm like, I hate selling. I really do. It's like one of my worst things to do. But if you realize why you do something, suddenly that becomes just part and parcel of what you do. And my why has always been my family. So that is how it started. I mean, Rocking Future was my first product that I launched into the world, and it was to get out of the music industry. I just could not do the music industry at all anymore. It killed my heart. It killed my soul. I didn't want to spend my time in front of drunk people anymore. And I decided I needed a new avenue. I needed a new audience. And matric students became the thing, and I connected the two things. Where was their need and what I could do? And I created this product. But as you said, through the years, that has changed and evolved every time to try and meet the need of that specific group, of that specific student. When we started, it was purely, I sang for a half an hour and I had 4 colleges that presented themselves. I can remember those days still so clearly. But then we started, changing over to, we need more. Okay, so we need more students. We need more opportunities. So we'll get more colleges involved that do other things. I mean, we started with ETA that does exercise. We started with Boston that had all these things to do. So we needed more clients. More kids could benefit from it. Then social media started kicking in. And we realized that the kids are becoming more and more visual. And the more visual they are, they're not listening to somebody talking on the mic. So now we had to include multimedia into the show and competitions into the show. And we just kept on following the graph and always try to, always try to be just a little bit ahead of where they are, So AI we started doing with Swivel.com 3 years ago, where you can actually ask an AI bot, I'm interested in design. Where can I go and study it? And it would give you the whole breakdown of all the places that you can go and study. And then you can go, well, how much will I earn when I'm finished with my degree? And it will give you all of the information. So we always try to just be a little step ahead. But the heart of the company has always been educate, motivate, inspire. That's my motto. That's the company's motto. And that's how I gauge anything that comes up. Any idea that gets thrown on the table, any client that contacts us, do we educate? Do we motivate? Do we inspire? And if there's a no on either one of those, we go, it's not for us. I've been asked by many big clients, we want to do a activation for XYZ. No, it doesn't feed the heart. We're not just going to put product on the table. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
No, it definitely does. And I can feel the heart coming through there because you obviously care about the younger generation. And I mean, I just think back to my high school days. It's a very confusing time. You assume that everyone else knows what's going on and has their career path planned out and figured out. But most of the kids walking around, they don't have a clue what to do. They don't know what's the right choice. Must I take a gap year? Must I do a diploma? Must I do a degree? Must I start working? Must I start waitering? There's so many opportunities. It can be confusing. And especially if there's this disconnect between the parents, or the parents have already said, you will be a doctor or you will go and be a CA or something like that. And they'd rather want to write poetry or they want to draw or they want to develop an app. It can be quite confusing. I mean, where do you draw the line? What are the options are available? So I really applaud you for creating this space where students and youngsters can come and just, okay, what are the options? What do I like? What do I don't like? And just talk to some other people that have maybe gone ahead and studied some of these things, or talk to some people that can kind of just give them some wisdom about, if you choose this path, these are the job options available. Because oftentimes people study something And then they realize that the job that they studied for is something that doesn't really fit them at all. And then they're kind of stuck, and then they have to go in this, and then are unhappy for a whole decade. And then you can really, you can almost lose a couple of years of your life because you just made the wrong decision, but you didn't know you were making the wrong decision. You didn't know you were going down this path that is kind of a bit of a dead end for you. It just doesn't suit you, or it's a dying industry perhaps. So I really applaud you for the products that you've created. And I mean, it takes a lot of, I think, effort to stay up to date because the world is changing so fast, and social media didn't exist when you launched this. Now you have to bring it. You have to think, okay, how are the kids perceiving this? Kids are more visual. Okay, we have to change a whole product for this. So tell me about the team behind the scenes. I know you're doing countless events a year. Tell me about that engine room of putting all this together, working with the companies, working with the schools and the tertiary education institutions.
So the engine room, wow, a bunch of really, really dedicated people that live from the heart. All of them. And I guess that's how I hire as well. People laugh at me, but I hire on gut. My right-hand person, Sue, she's actually sitting across the table from me. And we connected. She came in to be my personal assistant. We connected on the very first moment that we met. And I just saw so much more in her than she saw in herself. And I just knew this is the person that's going to help me push it even further. And each one of my booking agents are deeply committed to educate, motivate, inspire. We're a small team, actually, if you look at everything that we do. So with Rocking Future, we do 240 schools annually. And that is from January through to the end of May. The reason why we do that, we need matric time, and that's the only time that we can do that. With High Five, we do an extra 80 schools on top of that. That's primary schools. And then we market Swivel to every possible high school out there. And our team is myself, Sue, she's production manager. She handles everything production, from the shows to all our graphics, everything that needs to be pretty, she calls it. We have a social media manager in Cape Town, Ilham. We have a production assistant for Suzette, Norman, that is our brand ambassador. He is the most amazing person on the phone. You will just melt if he speaks to you. He's lovely. And then I have Melandre, that is on all my data. She handles all of the data coming in from both the parents and the schools and everywhere, and puts that into our data analysis, making sure that all our clients get what they need. And then last but not least, we have two booking agents, one that handles coastal leg and one that handles inland, and that's Cindy and Jess. And that's our team. That's our core team that handles all of the organization, all the logistics, all the planning, everything. What we then do for our different shows, we bring in actors, sound engineers, promoters, and those guys are all contract workers for us on the time that they work. But most of the time what happens is we have a bunch of, and they're young, they're 22 to 28. They all work for us in the first start of the year, and then we kind of use them in the other products and other products. So they also then grow in the company, and gosh, I hope I can give them all full-time work very, very soon. But basically, a very tiny team that runs all of this.
No, excellent, Kay. I mean, you can do a lot with a small team, and if you've got the right people in the right positions, and it sounds like you have, then you can really achieve a lot there. I want to talk on the product specifically now. You've mentioned a little bit about Rocking Futures. Now, the product that you launched, and you say it's a very personal product, is called High Five, and that sounds like a bold response to what some would say a mental health crisis in children. And I think it's a mental health crisis from age 0 to age 100, actually. I mean, even adults are struggling with everything. Tell me about the origin of that and the impact that it's had so far.
Sure. Okay, deep breath. The origin of that is a deeply personal story with my daughter. In 2020, just before the world shut down, I moved into a new school, thinking that it would be better for the family. We can all have holidays together. My son was in the school. And I moved from a really tiny cottage primary school into this big Catholic school. Great school, not for her. And March, the school shut down. So she was still okay. She was still surviving. And I would put her across from my desk and she would do all of her homework and she was coping and we would do exercise every morning. And I was just like, I am mom galore. I am like doing my bestest here. Then schools opened again and my baby girl had to go back into that environment. Now she had no friends. All the other kids during COVID, their moms communicated and they had play dates and I didn't do that. So she arrived back in school completely alienated. And that continued into full-on bullying, which she didn't tell me about for a whole year. Slowly but surely, I started seeing her just pull back more out of the family, spending more time alone in her room. And my thinking was, she's heading for 12, so maybe this is a teenage response. This is her trying to identify by herself and individualize. And I would walk in and she'd be listening to like really hectic heavy metal music. And I would be like, this is a bit strange, but I'm going to let her be. I'm not going to react like my mom used to react. I'm just going to give her space. Fast forward another year and my husband and I were sitting watching TV one night. And in a moment, he said to me, "Where's Danny?" I was just like, "She's in her room." And he jumped up and he ran. And he opened the door to her with a knife to her arm. And as you can imagine, our entire life just fell apart. We were like, where does this come from? Why are you doing this? Where's this pain? And then we started digging and trying to find out and getting her on medication and getting her into therapy. And meantime, all of this was happening underneath our noses, like right there. And I think the thing that hits me the most was here I am, a person dealing with the youth the whole time. I'm seeing all the dangers. I'm talking about the dangers to my kids. You know, it's open conversation in our household, and she didn't have the courage to go, "I'm not okay." She wanted to be okay for me. And that hit hard. And it took us a good 2 years of therapy and medication and getting her out of that school and out of, not surrounded by bullies and giving her space to be herself. For me to find peace in what happened, to go, I need to give other little kids the tools and the vocabulary to go, I'm not okay. So after a long time of waiting on it and sitting on the idea and, putting it out in the universe, the script started coming to me. And I started writing the script for High Five. And that's how it happened. And we concentrate on just high five. So just 5 pointers. I'm kind. I'm safe. I'm bouncy, which is unresilient. I'm brave. And I am me. And each one of those is a little exercise that we do with them. And we teach them a little song that they can sing to and ways for them to recognize when they're feeling stressed, when they're feeling anxious, to reset their vagus nerve. And all of this is done in a fun, vibrant, theatrical way with 2 actors that play games with them. And the result of that was teachers and parents saying to us, I wish this was here a few years ago. But it's here now. And we're rolling that out. And so far, we've got great interest from quite a few brands that have integrity with regards to who they will be seeing. That I'm very proud to be able to put it out there. So, yeah, that's High Five. Very deep, hard project for me. And hoping with the right partner in a 5-year span that we can see every primary school, that we can touch every young kid, every teacher that is taking care of them, every parent that doesn't know how to speak to their kid, and really make this a health and wellness movement rather than just a show.
I think that's a wonderful story, Kay, and I appreciate you sharing that on the podcast here. And it's amazing just doing this podcast and interacting with other people, how how something so personal and foundation shaking in your world can now be turned around to create something that other children can benefit from. And you'll never understand the impact of that. And catching children at the right time with this, just when they were going down a very dark and deep path that wasn't going to end well. And now they've been exposed to high five. And I mean, those 5 values that you said, that is what kids value. I want to be kind. I want to feel safe. I want to bounce back. I don't just want to be stuck in this mud where I feel like I've got no options, because there is always a way out. But kids do get stuck. They're like the walls are closing in. There's this disconnect with their parents. So I really applaud you again for creating something like this from a very personal space. And I think that's why it's so real, and that's why it can have this amazing impact, is because it comes from that place of hurt. And now you can be the light and shine a light in another child's life. And that's again, stuff like this didn't exist when I was at high school. Like if someone was a bully to you, you kind of kept it to yourself, because if you made fuss about it, it would just get like 10 times worse. And your parents came from the generation, they didn't go, oh man, it's just kids being kids. But kids being kids, yeah, just toughen up. Or it's just kids being kids. And it's not always just kids being kids. And I mean, I've seen it with my own kids as well, that and we remind them constantly, it's like, if someone's been a bully or hurt you, you've got to tell us, but also don't do it back to them, because that might be a sign of hurt that child's experiencing at home, or something that's happened in their home life or their upbringing, or something that's triggered it. So you hate the behavior, but you love the child. And it's I've seen it with my own kids as well. It's tough to go through, because you just want to bash down the door and sort it out the old school way, but that's just not the right thing to do at all. You got to like love the child through that. And I really think something like high five, just hugging the child, just holding them. Hey guys, it's okay. We can work through this together. And let's talk about swivel.com, because when I was growing up, you just kind of applied to the nearest university and, oh, this sounds good. Or what can my parents afford? Okay, well, that's the course that I can do. But swivel.com seems to be quite ahead of its time. Tell me a bit more about how you see this tech reshaping how kids approach their career decisions.
Well, I'm hoping, John, that this is a breakthrough with regards to how they search for what it is that they are interested in. So I don't know if you've ever tried this, you go onto Google, you go graphic design, places that I can study graphic design, and there are 20 tabs, right? It is so overwhelming for them. You would imagine that they're tech savvy, they can do all of these things. And I see that in my own kids. They're just like, okay, well, we're going to look at 1 and 2. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You actually need to research what you want to be and what you want to do. So with swivel.com, I think what makes it revolutionary is the fact that it is, number one, it's free to all students. All they need to do is they go to www.swivel, and that is SWIWEL.com, and register. And then they have free reign for as long as they want it. Okay. On there is a section called Career Corner that I would suggest for any student grade 8 all the way up to matric. If you don't know yourself, you cannot make the right decisions. If you don't know your strengths, if you don't know your weaknesses, if you don't know whether you are a kind of person that would like to be in a big office or in a small office, or with somebody that would like to work with people or not work with people, these are important things to know before you go and study in a certain direction, right? And I saw that I do a lot of career coaching as well. And I had a girl that came to me, straight A student, absolute brilliant. And her parents just absolutely, you will study medicine. And she was like, I don't want to study medicine. I don't like people. So I was, well, try. Why don't you go July holiday? She was in grade 11 at the time. Try and go and speak to your GP. See if they can put you in for a few days into their rooms. And she did that. She phoned me that evening and she said, it was the best thing I've done. I hated every minute of it. I don't like the people. I don't like the blood. I don't like any of these things. And then I spoke to the parents and said, you need to listen to her. You're going to spend 7 years worth of putting this child through hell, and she's going to hate you. Number one, she's going to hate what she's doing, and she's not going to be good at what she's doing because she hates it. And then she changed her mind and she went into bioengineering, where she's in a lab. And that is what she did. And she did really well at it. So you need to find out what you're good at, what you like, what you don't like. And this needs to happen from grade 8 upwards. I make my children do the test every year. So, and because it changes, you're not the same in grade 10 as you were in grade 8. So that is one thing that we hand to them, all these tests for free. You don't need to go for all of the really big, expensive tests where you get a big report. You can do all of these things consistently and see what remains the same. Then we have private institutions so wide. The scope is so incredibly wide, where you can go and look at if you are, a lot of our kids are in private schools, right? So we think we're going to put them through private school and high school and then throw them into a state university where there are 400 kids in a class. The survival rate is very low. We have a dropout rate of 52% for our first years. And there's a reason for that. If you look at a private institution, same education, same certification, most of the time better because it's internationally recognized as well, where your kid can be in a class of 25 kids, be seen, hear the right things that they need to hear, and work in the industry while they're coming up within that industry. It's a better choice, right? So Swivel gives that to people. Here are other things that you can think of. Here are other options that you can look at. So I'm really hoping that Swivel becomes that plug-in, that every parent will go, well, have you checked on Swivel? That must be the answer. I want to do X, Y, Z. Have you checked on Swivel? That's what I want that to happen. It is free. Use it.
No, excellent, Kay. I mean, I can't echo that enough. I think it's a really cool platform. I've played around with it a bit, and I think it's just going to get better and better as you get more feedback on it, and the kids use it a lot. And I really think it's as daunting as it is to choose a career. And I speak from experience, and I also talk to youngsters a lot. It's like your first job is not going to be your forever job. You're probably going to have 5, 6, 7, or 10 jobs. But start with something cool and fun that you can enjoy. Don't choose something and it's like a 50% call, like exactly how you explained about the girl who was going to go and study medicine. I mean, that would have just turned her off from that, and she might have just disappeared. And so educate yourself, find something fun and exciting, your passion, especially in the world of social media and digital and everything. There's so many niches within niches that you can jump on board and just explore and build your own business or startup. And something like Swivel can really play a key part in just showing you what's available. And I think it's important to educate yourself. You think you like design work, but you might be a better coder.
Yes.
That. So it's small examples like that, and I've seen with friends and family as well. Just choosing that right first start, I think, can really set you up for success, and one good thing leads to another thing, definitely. Now, Kay, here at the Right Place podcast, we believe that your right place is at the intersection of your roles, relationships, and environments. And I just want to ask you a couple of questions on that as well. And you told me that your favorite role is being the visionary in the company. But how do you balance being the visionary but also having your business hat on? Because it can't just be whiteboards and creativity the whole time. You've got to have your business hat on as well. How do you balance that?
How do I balance that? I believe in creating where there's a need. So, as I said to you, everything that we've created so far has been an answer to a need. So my creativity kind of goes, what's missing? We look at our kids, what is coming through? So stories happening. Our matrics are not landing where they should. So are they not getting the right information? Let's create swivel. Kids are arriving at Rocking Future and they're depressed and anxious and they don't know where they're going to go. Where's the missing part? So that's my creativity to try and find the gap in the market and how we can answer that gap. And then obviously, where do we find the person that's going to pay for us to do this so we can fill the gap in the market? But being the visionary, being the one that says, okay, well, let's try this. Let's try that. I love that. That's where I spark. But the bills need to be paid, right? And salaries need to be paid. So I just think I don't know, it's going to sound weird, but I've always had that ability to come down to ground, like left brain sequence, to make sure that that always happens. And in the hard days when we were pressurized, that is where I anchored, to make sure that that happens and that the daily things roll, and to make sure that if we promise to show, it actually gets delivered. That to me is core to what we do. The creativity and the bright sparks that fall on top of that, those are the extras.
No, that's very interesting. I think it's also something that comes with experience. Over time, you learn, okay, which hat do I need to put on now, and how much deeper into this vision must I go, or okay, we've got funding for this part, let's do this part and see how it goes. So I think that's a beautiful answer there. And now talking about the relationship side, Kay, you've built relationships over the last 25 years with schools and brands, and you've done activations and presentations and shows and things like that. What do corporates miss or misunderstand in terms of engaging with kids and appealing to what's really important to them?
I think what corporates misunderstand, that this is your next market. If you connect with them now on an emotional level, and that is what we do. All of our shows is on an emotional level. We do make it fun, we make it vibrant, we make it youthful, but it's emotion. You know, they're either experiencing an aha moment or they're experiencing pain and like, oh my God, I can associate with that. Or they're experiencing such joy and they're laughing and they're singing at our shows. That carries through. You know, that connection, if they then connect that to the brand that brought it to them, that's magic. You know, I don't know if you do, but I still have my very first bank account I opened.
Exactly.
And, you know, and I think brands miss that now, that connecting at an emotional level can bring future wealth and future understanding. When we deal with our institutions, our colleges, universities that we deal with, they are there for one reason and one reason only. And that is to put what they can do in front of these future students. That's how they see it. You know, these are our future students. And if they're interested in the direction that we are promoting, they're going to come and study with us. But what they don't understand is that kid goes home and they speak to their friend at another school and they go, oh man, I saw this cool college. They do X, Y, Z. Why don't we go there? It's the word of mouth that happens after that, that then both of those kids go to the open day and both of them signed up. It is that emotional connection. And that's why I always say to my clients, make sure that the people that interact with the youth are there for the right reasons as well. You know, you cannot send somebody that is in their 60s to come and speak to a 19-year-old or 18-year-old. It ain't going to work. They want to hear from people like old students that just finished. How was it? How was the campus life? You know, are the lecturers cool? What do you do if you do? That is the information that they ask for at the roadshow. And now our very successful clients do exactly that. They send ex-students to come and speak to the kids because the questions they ask is from a student's perspective. So that is my colleges and universities. Big brands involved in, for instance, High Five. You entering the household through High Five. It's not just the school. You know, that little bag that goes home with your logo on it, and the parent goes, what did you do today? what is that in your hand? Oh no, we saw the show. It's called High Five, and here's the little magazine. And they spoke about how can we be healthy? And then there was this, it's a pathway into the home. And I think we confuse straightforward marketing and advertising for what an emotional pathway into the home can be.
No, I hear you. I think, this is a warning to the brands out there. There are people getting it right, and not to be aloof and say, no, but we're different, or everyone knows who we are. Kids don't care about that stuff. Kids want to, exactly like you said, are the lecturers cool? A 60-year-old is gonna not be able to answer that question because they can't even remember when they were at varsity. But a third-year student or a fresh graduate will be able to say, yeah, this guy's really cool, or he helped me with this, or the tutor sessions are great. And that just ticks another box for the child to make a better decision because it matters to them. It really matters to them. And talking about success, one of the things we haven't spoken about, and it's not just all doom and gloom on the pod about kids, is that you've started Success Starters, and there seems to be quite a bit of momentum about it, and you've got a new social media strategy ramping up. What are you most excited about this, and where does it kind of fit into the ecosystem?
Okay, so Success Starters, once again, a story. Me and my stories. So at the beginning of this year, it kept on hitting me as we got the results back from the matrics, 8 distinctions, 9 distinctions. And I mean, kudos to those kids. They're amazing. They're going to do amazing things. They're never going to worry where to study, what to do. They're in there. For me, I went, hang on. As an entrepreneur myself, I wasn't an A student, not a D student, but I was definitely not an A student. I kind of went through high school going, whatever. Frankly, at that stage of my life, I just wanted to finish so I can go and get married. Dumb, but that was kind of my view. And I told myself, there are so many kids out there, the outliers, the kids that are already running their own little business, the kids that are running their own catering company, or somebody that is coding because they just love it, or a fantastic performer that everybody speaks about in school, but they just passing, And I was like, what about those kids? Those kids have the ability, they've got the chutzpah to be amazing. They have the ability to be success starters. So that's where the story starts. And I just decided I work with all these amazing institutions. I contacted them and I said, if I can go through a process of elimination and get every school that we interact with for Rocking Future to nominate one learner for me that they can identify, then we go through the process. And out of those that I identified, we select 20, just 20 the first year, that we can place in institutions where they can go and learn. We get the institutions to cover for their first year and maybe even second year. We get brands to go, you know what, I see that. I see them. I want to be part of that success story. I want success stories that we can feature on all of our podcasts and feature on our social media and feature on the Lacquer Network and feature. I want those success stories. I want these guys that they go, well, we don't want to leave South Africa. We're going to grow and we're going to build what we are building right here. And we're going to employ other young people. And my big dream is in 5 years' time, the guys that we choose this year will be the judges of the next one, and we can build a Success Starters alumni. And that must be fed into business, fed into communities, and just go, we're sitting with amazing kids. They might not be A students. They might not be the ones that get chosen to go to UCT or Stellenbosch or BITS, but they're success starters in their own right. And they're going to lead this economy. They're going to be the ones employing other people. So that's my Success Starters dream.
No, that's excellent, Kay. Again, well done. That sounds, again, like you've found kids that are kind of slipping between the cracks. They're kind of in no man's land, and they've just got massive potential. And just to expose them to to something like this, I think it's really, really cool. And I mean, I don't know if it's scientific, but I've heard it quoted a few times that A students end up working for B and C students, because the B and C students work harder, they try different things, and the A students stay in their little boxes and stuff. So there's definitely place for B's and C's and D's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was the one that just made it through on my maths exam.
Me too. That's a whole different story. Okay, we come into the end of our recording today, and I just wanted to ask if there's a young person out there listening, feeling a bit stuck or confused about their future, what is maybe one thing they can ponder or think about, and then what is one thing they can actively do to improve their chances?
Sure. If I was in that position now, so if I was 19 to 23, I would take every day as the biggest opportunity to learn something new. And if you don't have direction for yourself, work on yourself. The best thing you can do is there are so many free courses available at the moment. They like everywhere. AI courses, universities that are releasing courses all over the place. You don't have to pay. You can just learn. And so if I was in that position, learn something new every day. Put 3 hours aside every day, learn something new. The other thing I would do is get up and move. Your brain can only be as strong as your body is going to carry it. So you need to put exercise into your routine every day, whether that is walking, whether that is running, whether it's hitting the gym, whether it's playing soccer with your friends. I don't care, but you need to move. And the third thing is drink water, people. Stop drinking all your energy drinks. Drink water and eat well. Those are 3 basic things that any young person can do. And if you've got any connection to the outside world with regards to like online, there's so much that you can learn. Just please don't waste your time looking at memes of cats and people falling over. Honestly, I mean, if I had the ability to know what you know as a young person and to do different things, I would have been a multimillionaire by now. But unfortunately, it hit me quite late in life. So those are the 3 things that I would say.
No, I love that answer, Kay. And yeah, you're not going to find your right place if you're watching cat videos all day. Definitely not.
Yep.
Kay, here in 2025, what does being in your right place look like today?
My right place. I think my right place is wherever I feel content and happy with what is happening. If I'm not in my right place, as in mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, my brain starts going haywire. And unfortunately, we are biased to think of all the worst things that can happen, will happen, has happened. So that is why I keep on going. My daily routine are things like, unless I'm sick, unless I'm on antibiotics, I try and get that hour in the gym. It is therapy for me, not just for my body, but for my head. I wake up in the morning at 5 o'clock. I don't get up, but I spend the next hour on micro learning. And that could be anything from YouTube shorts on the channels that I follow, or it could be a podcast. I love Diary of the CEO. It's got amazing guests on. Or it could simply just be looking for inspiration for that next thing that is mulling in my mind. At night, I love to write down what went well today, as well as what didn't go well. And then a month later, it's amazing when you look back, like, that didn't go well. It actually turned out really well. It kind of gives you a different take on life. So for me, my right space is when I feel stable. And that's the only way that I can actually describe it. Just stable in, we are doing the right thing. We are following the right methods. I am ticking the box of what my ideal day looks like. And the people around me are happy and content with me. I think that's my right place.
No, that's an excellent answer. I think one of my favorite we've had on the pod, and I appreciate the effort that you take to find your right place. And I think people underestimate that sometimes. They think they're going to hit it by default. You'll hit it if you are intentional. And like you say, you're intentional about going to the gym. You're intentional about the people that you spend time with. You're intentional about the content that you consume, the micro learning that you're focusing on. And when we are intentional about that, that is when there's a lot of alignment. The right things are happening. You're hearing the right things. You're learning the right things, and you can implement the right things in your business and in your personal life as well. And I think that's really important. And people misjudge that. They just think, I'm just going to wing it and life will just align. And then it doesn't always work like that. So well done for being so intentional about it.
Thank you.
Kay, this has been such a wonderful discussion. Really, really fascinating to talk about the insides and the outsides of 3RC and the various products that you have out there. If people want to learn more, they want to bring Rocking Futures or High Five to their school or to their organization or get involved, what is the best way to contact you and the team?
I think the easiest would be through our website, www.3rc.co.za. It's the easiest one. We're also all over social media, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just look, you will find us. 3RC SA, you will find us somewhere. But easiest on the website, and then just give me a call. WhatsApp me. I'm there always.
No, excellent, Kay. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Kay Cheytanov. It's been a wonderful discussion. It's been a completely different discussion than what we've normally had here on The Right Place. But I appreciate Kay and the journey that she is on to really make an amazing impact in the next generation and the younger generation. And maybe some of your children or your youngsters have experienced some of her products before. Please let us know about that. Please share this widely with your friends and family, especially the youngsters that need a little bit more direction in their life. Kay, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, John. It was such a pleasure.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, please subscribe to The Right Place podcast, and we will see you next time at The Right Place.